what is fun about being a self-empowered woman, and that's because my 1-year-old is right here with me, is this. Let's talk about it for a minute with Sadhguru and also 5D Mystic here, Enlightenment Soul Age Group, Woo Woo, Pseudoscience Lady. Remember, bringing human, spiritual, and spirituality elements together to take a look at our lovely human evolution and consciousness and your spirituality journey, the true one, your personal development journey, your inner child journey, your being yourself journey. You can use all the words you want, self-help, all of it, but we do food for thought, and that's voices, perspectives, subjective experiences, okay? So, lovely said Guru, I have never been lonely because the source of creation has never left me for a moment, has never left anyone for a moment. And that is actually very accurate, even for the sciences people like Daniel Siegel, who I get to learn from, as he talks to me about consciousness and change in my most recent course. And consciousness is when you have that lovely integration of the brain. I do, and you can be here too. We also can be restorative embodiment of ourselves when you get that authentic self uncovered by being a person who loves yourself first. And that's not by being selfish. No, no. It's by you being able to get to your inner child. So that's something very scary for some people. Okay, so it's to be taken seriously. Trauma charges and that 1-year-old and 3 to 7. But any person who truly will unfold their inner child and bring it forth, it's only if they have self love, compassion, the capacity to know I'm an imperfect, flawed person who, if I have a hard time being intimate here, then I want to know that there are good trauma therapists like Patrick Tiahan. Okay, so I support personal development and I am attachment trauma informed, educational courses, hours, all that great stuff. So again, the fact that Sadhguru doesn't realize that consciousness is something that is also explainable, no, he knows. He meets with sciences people, but he's a spirituality guru. Okay, so the sciences people, they talk about this lovely Akash, the infinite sphere of consciousness that I'm connected to. And if you're a mystic, 5D, you'll know it too. 4D, they're on Elsa's journey. Put them to the side. 3D, they're even on another journey, okay? So, long story short, here we bring together those of us who are serious about healing trauma, and that's by being safe havens, secure bases. So we create 5D relationships, okay, here at IHP. And obviously anywhere else where we have the actual people who will not reject a malignant narcissist. They will not reject a person who has borderline. They will not reject a sociopath. They will not reject any of the antisocial personality group. They will not reject anyone for that matter because they know how to use their mouth to have a conversation. Also, they have this. Okay, so I'm a person who's a restorative embodiment. I repeat, an empowered woman, I don't reject anyone. Don't come near me with a physical weapon, otherwise I will run away. You come near me with your mouth, what are you doing? Okay, so handling a person is okay for an authentic self. It's called I have compassion, even though it might not look like it, and it's because I have integration of the brain. Okay, so that's where I'm never lonely either, like Sadhguru, not because I grew up with Sadhguru. No, I grew up with Jesus and God, and I grew up in a safe home. So I'm an inner child forever and ever and ever. Well, as long as I'm living. So, empowered women, we have the most amazing of journeys, and I'm going to share a little bit on this end. When I see any person being bullied, as we talked about, and that's the inner child of them, I have noticed that I immediately am alerted. It's not all people, because I've learned in years how to. No, I got busy, that's all. Okay, but what I do notice is when I'm around anyone in particular that catches my eye. Okay, so I have a couple of stories that I'm thinking, but I want to just end with we don't reject anyone because we can use our mouth as a functional adult. When I see people who are in a rut, are challenged, if you will, because they don't meet what society wants them to be, but that society is an ignorant society. Like the man who says about yoga bringing demons out of you, that was told to him by some other person and he believes it to be true. Apparently he doesn't believe attachment trauma, or he doesn't get the 2+ years and more of educational courses like I have, so he doesn't understand it. And I know that trauma as a word is being used a lot, but so is manipulation. So are the words narcissist. So that's why I don't use words. And when I say that, what I mean is I don't do buzzwords. I have to use words, of course, but I don't use words. I try to create conversations. If you don't listen to all of it, you're not going to get any of it. It's okay. Left mode people, they're not looking to expand their consciousness. They're teenagers, they're Cuscos. Okay, so when I am in a room and I'm around people, I will notice what is happening. And so there's a story that I'm going to share bits and pieces of. And that's the part of where it doesn't matter how a person will behave with me, because you being rude is nothing more than, at this point, as an attachment trauma informed person, you being in your maladaptive child behavior, and I'm not your mother, and I don't want to be. I'm not going to say anything to you. I'm going to address whatever you're telling me, and I'm going to be calm about it. The only time my nervous system gets in any way, shape, or form excited or agitated is when I'm actually in a situation of, am I going to be allowed to be a member of that herd? Okay, and so here's where that's the funny part, is when you're actually looking forward to being picked to stay in a relationship as a friend, you're going to get excited. So divine feminine, that's healthy self-worth women also, but you don't have to be a woman to be a divine feminine. But divine feminine, in this case, I'm saying your body. I don't wear a mask. I'm Maria. So what I'm saying is, when somebody, I like them and I want to be let in, I get nervous in a way of, oh, am I going to be a person that they're going to like to have around? Okay, so that's something that is a beautiful feeling. And you don't get scared when you have healthy self-worth about people rejecting you. It's, are they going to like spending time with me, and am I going to be able to be a consistent part of their life? Because we don't need to prove our worth. The low self-esteem woman or man or they is going to be nervous in a way of afraid, because they don't know they're worthy. So again, I'm an inner child who knows my worth. So I'm not ashamed of being Maria. I didn't have to get rid of my anything. I'm an inner child because I got lucky. So I live spirituality because I live a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. I have a twin, and I have a mother who didn't fearmonger me. So I'm trying to explain technically why, for the 5D plane, one, Christ consciousness is what we have. It's not only because I grew up with Jesus, but the Christ consciousness is called oneness consciousness. The fifth dimension, which is where I support the 5D mystics so that they can come over here with your ascension, your spirituality journey, so you can be a human being who has your clairs and understands your humanity and overflows with it. And that's because restorative embodiment is really nice. And so you know true love, because you're always on, not just sometimes. So when someone that I love has said, I don't like you, that made me very sad. Of course, I reject you, sad again. And the whole evil bitch, evil witch, that makes me, no, not really sad, because I know that that's something that's distorted, but it's sad to know that some people, they just don't want to be friends with you. But you get over it. Again, it's not about worth. So when you know you're worthy, it's because I'm breathing, you're breathing. I don't understand. I mean, it's really either we're compatible or not. That's the secure attachment. You'll hear from some videos when they explain to you how a secure attachment person handles breakups. Yeah, we don't. Oh, I laugh because I'm 44 and I thought women would grow up, and then I see them prancing around with Venuses of Goddesses of May, and they think that that's empowerment. And well, I'm going to put on a I can't help myself. Like when I see men who think they're badass, and I'm like, really, you really think that you're making me think of when I was, again, 16 and around a buffoon, and I'm like, that's not badass. That's just a buffoon right now. So I don't get angry when I see somebody lying or doing. It's more of, okay, how do I turn around so they don't see me smirking, because I don't want to be the one who's making fun of them now. Okay. So long story short, mantles of mental health and mantles of yoga, so spiritual bypassers, I will spot a mile away, is what I was trying to get to with my story. And I will spot an inner child who's in need of somebody to grab them out of that mud. Okay, this I'm going to use this one. The hanged, no, the justice, even though I think it moves to the hanged man. So, and when I have noticed this, I have reached out and grabbed that inner child out of the mud. Now, that doesn't mean that the person is actually going to be able to unmask their home. That is just the beginning for a person. Because when you offer an individual a safe haven, secure base, and they have childhood trauma, whether it's from emotional neglect or abuse, they're going to think of home as one that has fighting because their nervous system is used to dysregulation and pseudo aliveness. So I'm an immediate threat to the person who is closed off to their heart and their inner child. And that's very sad for you to find out. Not mad. So that's something that never changes when you grow up with an inner child. And again, divine feminine here. So I want to keep it without the mystic stuff and just share how we are choice points for each other and how amazing it is for me to see good mental health professionals out there sharing with people who do have the opportunity to get free content online. Thank you, Patrick Tiahan, about childhood trauma survivors and how their nervous system will work and how they'll seek unhealthy partners. Okay, so unhealthy means somebody who's going to be reactive with you. But like I said, it's about the person recognizing if my home was frightening, that's why I'm consistently in these types of relationships. It's a very straightforward, logical equation, but they're not doing that. Martyrs, superiors, blamers, the ones who put people on pedestals or, all that. Okay, but you can present a conversation. So for me, whenever I've been able to support an inner child to come back over, I'm very happy. Whenever I've been rejected by that inner child, it's made me sad, but I've understood, thanks to being attachment trauma informed, that it's not personal. And I also know how to share the same with those who tell me that they want to support people. And when I tell them, you're not more anointed or more special because of clairs or no clairs, we're all people. We're all here to support each other to become pachas. I'm going to share with the community and to basically shake a hand. That means I love you, not because I'm attaching to you. No, because I love you. It's easy for me to love because you're a person and I'm a person. And if I have some situation, I'm going to tell you about it. Okay. So conversations, very easy. And the people who don't like to hear this, they will consistently choose the human suffering love narrative. They come with distortions, desperation, manipulation. And the women, typically it's a woman who comes and or more, and they complain to me about men. And they complain to me about men with covert narcissists, malignant narcissists. They use words, so many of these words in this way. And the minute, though, that you're telling me a story and you're telling it to me like you're a victim, I'm not going to be able to speak logic because you're upset. Not only are you upset, you're confiding, right? You're there for support. The part that makes me very humored, if you will, is that they don't, not even once, say, how am I doing with my inner world? They don't do that. It's only if I bring it up. So how are you handling how the emotions are going? So what are you going to do about the way that the thought is going? So how about we focus on you, okay? And they don't like that. Because see, this is exactly where a structural dissociation, it's not full on in necessarily, but they're wanting to tell their drama story. There's the pseudo aliveness, and there's the re-traumatizing yourself, if you will, and there's the human suffering love narrative. So they're choosing to continue a cycle, and that's for people that you just listen to them because that's all they really want. They want to be welcomed and listened to, and they don't choose to take that self-awareness seriously. And so again, no competitions here. At IHP, we're just serious. I'm serious about personal development, self-help, and to say there are many different ways that you handle any human suffering love narrative. It's not by shooing them away. It's not by becoming their therapist. No, in my case, I share attachment trauma information because my loved ones, all of them, they will know that I am somebody who is doing that. Or they'll say, so what are you up to? This is the part. It depends if it comes up. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But if I'm concerned for your well-being, and I think that there's data points that I can be supportive of, I will mention it. And once, twice, that's it. If there's no interest, you don't keep talking about it. So there are people who they're not interested in the years. I've noticed they don't want to hear about it, and you leave it alone. But if you come to me with the same words, I have a covert narcissist, I have this, I have that, then you're involving me. So I'm going to again present the equation. Okay, so are you telling me you need a lot of help, a little help? What do we got going on? So I get practical. And this is something that again allows a person to come and be supported, but not do their drama wheel. It's not because of me not wanting. They can do whatever they want with their drama wheel, but I'm proactively going to engage with you in a conversation. Okay, so loving, accepting, and respecting is not hard for any person to do when you're here with compassion, because you're differentiating and linking. My nervous system doesn't suffer. I'm just involved in something that I will at a certain point understand is your go-to. Okay, so long story short, a little bit of this and that, and we'll conclude with a person who does care about any inner child will not say, I'm going to cut you out because you have some mannerisms that I don't like. No, we'll talk about the mannerisms, and you get to be informed of what we would appreciate. And that's how it goes. It's, I would appreciate not, or it depends. It depends how the interaction is, obviously. But it will always be a direct communication. It won't be, I'm going to accuse you, I'm going to yell at you, I'm going to shame you. No, I'm not going to do any of it. I'm going to talk to you. Functional adult love language. So empowered women, whether it's a man, a woman, a they, we bring to a conversation. Now, we won't care about what tone we're bringing to you. That's not my business. If you don't know how to handle your nervous system, I'm not going to be handling it for you. I'm being myself, you see. I'm being myself as a 3-year-old, and I'm actually presenting something in a way that I'm okay with. And if you're not okay with it and you don't know how to speak up, I'm not a mind reader. And even if I am, I'm not going to impose myself, because that's the martyrs and superiors that do that. The love dependent people who get controlling and angry, or manipulative and desperate. And that's those relationship grid from Terry Real: grandiosity, control and angry, and shame, manipulative, desperate. For the love dependents, the porous, the boundaryless ones. Oh, I've met plenty of them. When they get controlling and angry, I'm standing here and I'm like, okay, there's no reason for this, but I also won't continue to incite you, which is very different. And I don't know if I used that word correctly, but there's a specific way that people with their maladaptive child behavior engage in that energy. So let's say I and you are having a debate, and you're raising your tone, and I want to keep on talking, and I'm going to tell you as you raise your tone that I don't talk to people that are raising their tone. And as you raise your tone more, I keep talking over you. That is an active engaging in a dynamic that isn't going to go anywhere except for yelling at each other. So that's not a functional adult. No, we got 2 maladaptive child behaviors, and we got one who's controlling and angry, and one who's desperate and manipulative, and or we have potentially one who is on the other side, the avoidant, if we want. Okay, so it doesn't really matter how we equate this, but the point is, if I and you are having a debate, if I continue to speak while you're yelling, we're going to get into a yelling match. Now here, I, professionally speaking, had a situation happen where I got reactive because the person on the other end was smart enough and stable and calm enough to know it's not personal. Maria's upset. In about 3-4 seconds, maybe 10, I forget how long, but I noticed that I was upset and angry. They were silent, and I calmed down. I was like, you know what? I'm so sorry. Totally blew up, and I think there was only two things. They said, okay, there's no need to get angry. It was something along those lines with a very calm voice. Great friend of mine, great professional, and I knew that it was thanks to his silence and his calmness as he approached, and that I then was like, shit, this was completely unnecessary. So I apologized, and he said, it's okay. I totally get it, because he knew what was happening, and that is not the only time. It was another time, something different, and in this case, I didn't realize that I wasn't being asked a question. So I kept speaking, and as I kept speaking, my tone at a certain point went over the other tone. And then it was a look in the eyes of the person, and then they got reactive, that I understood, okay, now we're not, this is not a conversation, was never a conversation, shit. How could I have figured that one out beforehand so that now I wouldn't have found myself in this situation. So it was in all those instances, we're friends. Nothing happened. Nobody's in any way, shape, or form holding a grudge or being pissy at each other. Emotional grown-ups know how to talk about anything and everything. They get in each other's faces. I haven't seen that online in a long time. In fact, it feels so daunting to see all those Venuses of May and goddesses, and I call them that, but they're all Pinocchios and Peter Pans and you name it. They're silencing each other, and you can tell the ones who are interested in just chit chatting about things because of their mannerisms. And so, again, an inner child who accepts themselves with at least the flaws will be open to a person who says, I accept you for who you are. And then when we get to chit chat, we bring our differences together, and you'll notice that you create some of the most amazing relationships because of accepting each other. The ones who get into their superhero, supervillain story, yeah, those ones we won't. Maybe I'll do another part two. Yeah, whenever I see a superhero, I'm like, you are not a superhero. I'm not a superhero, and there's no supervillains. You're dehumanizing a group of people. Anytime you call anyone a supervillain in my book, and I know that you're human and I'm a human. You have a heart and I have a heart. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. Thank you, Pacha. So here's the part. A mantle of mental health will tell you that there's sides. A actual person who cares about mental health will tell you there's no sides, but there are choices. You have a self and I have a self. I'll be able to address your maladaptive child behavior by speaking to you in your face like a person. The minute that my eyes meet you, I know that you're inside terrified. I'll keep my distance because I got taught how to maintain my composure by the attachment trauma information people. I also got taught how I won't put up with your bullshit when you're projecting to me that I'm not taking your side because you're on the step 4 recovery. You're not choosing to heal your trauma or trust break. No, you want people, bystanders, to take your side and tell you that you're the superhero of your superhero journey with a supervillain, which to me means you haven't come full circle. No, you need to go to good therapy and come full circle. Not to me. I ain't taking your side. I have two sides of a story, and they both need good therapy. So if there's anything that you present to a person that has a full-fledged human being heart, it's I know about sciences, one, and thank goodness, because even though the people who they want to use the word Jesus, I know what they're doing. I grew up with that world. I'm going to say, Patrick McNamara, thank you for your neuroscience studies, and you're continuing with it. And thank you to the attachment trauma community who continues to share with us how the brain works of a human being, and that yoga helps a ventral vagal nervous system portfolio of exercises, not yoga from your body. So I might be pseudoscience lady, but I at least have the audacity to get informed and no, not everybody has truth. But if there's one thing that I wouldn't call truth are stories, because, again, truth, really? So let's go and get those peer-reviewed quantitative data. Oh, conspiracy, is that where you're going to bring me to? You're going to bring to me all of the conspiracies. So that's more logical. I see. Again, I'm pseudoscience lady because I respect academia. And when I did get my clears, I've shared this at least more than once, that made me sad because I knew that not everybody from my faith will accept me as somebody of faith. So that still makes me sad because I love Jesus and I do love God. I still have the same child relationship with, because that's the part of ourself. It stays with those timestamps. So me being able to have the relationship I have, but also being logical and rational enough to know that there's groups of people that don't fall within expansion of consciousness. And that's because when they deal with uncertainty and unknown, it's not comfortable. Not to mention, I usually am pretty confident that nobody tunes into anything that they don't resonate with, which is why anyone who comes here is somebody who's open-minded enough to hear people out. There's no truths here. There's food for thought, subjective experiences. We share, and again, I support personal development and for us to build those beautiful relationships. So it's not about how you believe. You believe what you want to believe. I believe what I want to believe. That's the beauty of 2024. What I was trying to get to is I actually understand how some people will not be able to conceptualize what I'm speaking of. Let's put an example, my grandma, she's not here with me anymore, but I know that with my grandma, even if I want to try and talk to her about something like this, she'll listen to me. She would have listened to me because she always listened to me, my maternal grandma. So she actually definitely openly listens or listened. But what I'm saying is I would not ever expect her to actually follow through with saying, you know what, maybe that is true. Maybe what she's saying makes sense. No, I saw my grandma have a reaction towards what is a very common skin disease or something like that today, now time, and her reaction was pure fear. I could see the fear from her eyes. She was completely in what is that structural, either structural dissociation or any. She was living a moment from her past, and she was completely upset, and she was sad and worried for. It was a family member, and she's like, in our days, they would take you and they would, I forget if it was burn them or anyways, it was just such a big deal, and you could tell she was not with us. She was living a moment of time, and everyone was trying to talk to her, and they were trying to rationalize. And in that moment, I knew no word, and I didn't have attachment trauma information yet, but I just knew nothing that you're saying is gonna. This moment needs to be just left alone. Be quiet. You hug the person, and you leave it. And I understand that even better now that I'm attachment trauma informed. But you try telling people this, a person doesn't choose their unconsciousness, and they're like, no, no, but they're choosing. No, a malignant narcissist or a person with borderline or a person with sociopathy or whatever it is that you want to use, they're not actively choosing. That they have a choice point when you present to them, but what I'm saying is they're not actively choosing the maladaptive child behavior. It comes from those first years of life. So to my community, I speak to you knowing that I don't get it all right, but knowing what I'm talking about and knowing about people who find it hard to believe. And I think it's 2024. Like I said, my grandma totally get it. I'm 44. The people that are my age, no, you're ignorant in my book. That's it. Younger, you're ignorant too. And no, you're not evil. You're just ignorant people. And what I do like knowing is that the younger generation, they're already here. They're like, yep, I know about that. I know about that. And so it's between 16 to like 25ish, 30ish. I'm going to say they're more aware of all the topics that I talk about, but because I'm 44, I don't meet as many, of course, of that younger group when I'm socializing. So I get to meet the people who are like, no, Maria, it's not true. And to be continued. It's like, okay, you know what? It's sure it's not true. What do I know? I'm woo lady. Okay, so at the end of the day, at least we have social media where we get to chit chat, come together, and support our neighborhoods, and to actively go out into the world and say, stop believing the movies, because the movies, they stigmatize everything. Don't you know that they don't know anything about the diagnoses of people, and that they're going to keep making it entertaining with that whole adrenaline rush and that whole thing of needing to get you into whatever different moods, which I don't want to see at all. Don't bring me any of that. Oh, so only when I have to socialize, So, long story short, all of us, we get to choose what content to consume. And if you're consuming in 28 minutes in, then I'm happy that you're here, because I'm pretty sure that you're on board with helping all those lovely people who want to get their inner child back. It's very easy for some of us, and we can help them know that their authentic self is waiting for them to hold, to embrace that inner child. Patrick Tiahan, thank you for what you do. Check him out. He's a great childhood trauma survivor, and he's an expert, and he's a therapist, and he has a community. And so for personal development, self-help, to be yourself, come here too. But again, if you need any good sources, also let me know. Have a great day. Subscribe. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back with more.